What's up, guys? Chun is back. I got another 4th generation standard match for you guys today. This is against Joy, who I found on the Abras Asylum Zat chat. The first time we played, we actually got disconnected. So we kept trying to recreate just the first couple of turns, but there was some hacks that went on and some other things that prevented us from doing that. So here, this is the closest we could possibly get it, barring any min-max damage rolls, which those things are beyond our control. So, of course, turns out his lead Azelf is a choice bandit Azelf, because there's no way Azelf does that much damage to Spiritomb on a with a U-turn. So he goes to Suicune, and I tried to go to Fortress here, thinking I could take this chance to set up my hazards, but I underestimated Suicune's damage output, because he actually has Hydro Pump, and surprisingly it's a 2-hit KO, which I did not know at the time. So I'm forced to go to Venusaur at this point, since he hasn't seen it yet. As he goes for the next Hydro Pump, he probably just wanted to go for the KO, and I really need Fortress to get hazards down before foddering it out. And obviously I'd be knocked out if I stayed in against a second Hydro Pump. So I really rushed my moves the first couple of turns, and I wasn't doing any damage calcs at all. So I think at this point I'd start to slow down a little bit and just do some more thinking before I make any rash decisions. So I'm gonna go for the Sleep Powder. In comes Metagross. That was the best move, whether he decided to stay in to set up Calm Mind or throw an Ice Beam out, which would not one-hit KO. So I get his Metagross to sleep, and thankfully it doesn't have Lung Berry, because I kind of cringed there at that part. But in comes his elf again, and he immediately switched, maybe thinking I had Earthquake or maybe Hidden Power Fire, because I know some Choice Banded elves do have EVs and Special Defense, I think 112. But I just go with the obvious Leech Seed here, and then I'm going to go for the Protect. And this is why I love Protect on this Venusaur, because I can scout to see what choice Pokemon lock themselves into, and then just decide if I want to take that move or not, or switch or do something else. So he goes for U-turn, so I don't want him getting switch advantage in this case, and I doubted it would do that much damage, and even though Azelf is choice banded, and it doesn't, so he pretty much didn't have a choice, either U-turn out or just do a straight up switch. So obviously I'm just going to Leech Seed again to get the next Pokemon, and it's Metagross again. Now I think for a while here, and just thinking about what I want to do. I know I'm going to switch out, but I can either go to Fortress to on the free turn to sleep, because he hasn't burned any turns yet, and he's probably going to stay in to burn a turn, so I can get hazards down. Or I could go to Hippo and get Stealth Rocks. But both decisions, I did fear a double switch to Suicune, but I go with Fortress in the end, figuring he does want to burn sleep by staying in. So I didn't want to scare him off with Hippowdon either, although Stealth Rock is more key, so kind of wanted him to feel safe while I get a layer down. He is going to go to Infernape as I get my first layer of spikes. So now I start slowing down even more and just thinking about what I want to do. Was pretty cool that I was able to get I was trying to get Leech Seed and Leftovers Recovery as a bonus as well, since I got Metagross seated back there. But anyway, Infernape's in here. Worst case scenario is it's a nasty plotter, and he might set up to try to get the early sweep. Slowbro has to be the initial switch in at this point, as anything else Ape does isn't as bad. U-turn and Thunder Punch together wouldn't one-hit KO. Not together. I meant to say neither one would one-hit KO if this thing is banded. It wouldn't even two-hit KO if it was mixed. Unboosted Grass Knot's not a one-hit KO. And if he nasty plots, then I just have to stall him out and scout the set and see what moves he has. So as I do some complicated switches to bait him. But he ends up going for the simple Fire Blast, and he misses. I'm in a good spot. It would have been nice to see if Ape had the Life Orb or if it was Choice, but then I would have had to take damage. So I think about Toxic initially here, thinking he would bring Suicune back in, but he might predict that, so I go with Surf instead. And it's a good thing I did, because he does bring Metagross back in to burn more sleep. I deduced that most likely Ape is choice scarfed because he immediately switches out. Now, I thought about going to Fortress here because I thought it might possibly be an Agilagros though, so I don't want to make the defensive play, although it does make sense with stall. It makes sense to get some extra layers down. And just a couple questions: do I want to risk the second turn wake up and finish Metagross off with Surf and give my opponent the free switch in, which is the offensive thought process? Do I want to go back to Fortress to get another layer? Not really. Or do I want to go to Hippowdon and get the Stealth Rock? I don't want to invite Suicune back in, or one of his two unrevealed pokes, because he's got Suicune and Ape, so I thought he might have a grass type, since Fire, Water, Grass cores are that common. But ultimately I stay in at the risk of him possibly blowing up as well, which would one-hit KO Slowbro. Definitely a risk because I need Slowbro for Ape, because he's my best switch-in, so... He does get the second turn wake, but he tricks me his Iron Ball, so it's a Trick Ball Metagross, so you get mad props for using that, Joey. That's not a very common set on Metagross. Definitely deals with its problems, mainly Skarmory and Rotom, so I did take the offensive route, KO'd him with Surf. Didn't want to risk it being an agility set and force myself to go on the defensive, so now he brings in Tyranitar. Thought he might go for the Choice Pursuit, so I stay into Toxicate, but I saw the leftovers, so, and I actually thought I could live a Crunch here, but I didn't pay attention to the damage I took previously. Looking back on it, I really should have switched out here, but I stay in thinking I could take it, and I don't have lefties anymore, although that probably would not have made a difference. So he just barely gets the one-hit KO with Crunch, and I tried to Surf there, so now I'm a bit nervous because I lost my main Infernape check. My main switch into Infernape, so now I'm going to go to Hippo to set up the Stealth Rock and just scare him out, and he's going to go right back to his elf, fearing the Earthquake. And here I was doing damage calcs, and Explosion one-hit KOs Hippowdon, and it one-hit KOs Fortress at the current health that it's at. Everything else isn't really an option. Heatran is, but I don't want to show it yet, as he has yet to reveal his last guy, which I still thought might be either a grass type, or it's Flygon, or it's another sweeper, just based on the makeup of his team. So I almost went to Spiritomb here, predicting the explosion, but I didn't think he would blow up at this current health level. I thought he would maybe just U-turn out or something. So in the end, I am going to go over to Fortress, and I was really just trying to predict the explosion correctly here, but ultimately I didn't think he was going to blow up this turn, but he does. He just ends up blowing up. So I'm just thinking for a while here. I really thought about this for a while. I go to Fortress, and he does explode, and that is going to take Fortress down. Very unfortunate. It's a double down, and I only got one layer of spikes down, and I got Stealth Rock down, so that's pretty much what I'm going to have to work with as far as hazards if I want to try to wear him down. So now I think about who I want to bring in on the blind switch. Slowbro would have been nice here, but he's gone, so I thought about Hippowdon, but I feared Suicune again. Spiritomb can't set up a sweep yet, since he's still got Tyranitar. Even if I got to +6, he's still not going to be doing that much damage, not to Tyranitar. And I would have to rest immediately anyway. For that very same reason, I can't bring Heatran in. So Venusaur is going to be my best bet, even though Ape is still around. It is choice, so I can protect, if nothing else, to see what he locks himself into. Now he reveals his last Pokemon, which is Flygon. Now, I was doing some calcs, and if this Flygon is Choice Scarf, Outrage is actually not going to be a one-hit KO on this Venusaur. So I'm actually going to go for the Sleep Powder, and he actually is going to go for the Outrage at this point, most likely thinking that Fortress was my only Steel type, my only Dragon Resist. So he figured he was pretty safe in going for the Outrage, but I do have another Steel type that resists Outrage, but I'm not going to bring him in now. And I'm just going to go for the Sleep Powder and just go back to work with Venusaur at this point. I figured I would either get Flygon or Infernape. And it is a good thing that this Flygon isn't banded, because I think he might have been able to one-hit KO if he was choice banded. So I go for the sleep powder and I just hit the Flygon. Now it's starting to come into the mid game, so I'm definitely going to have to start switching up my playstyle. I've been playing pretty defensive this whole time, so I am going to start making different moves to keep him guessing just in the next couple of turns, and you guys will see it actually here against this Suicune. And he switches to Suicune on my leech seed. I actually thought Infernape would come in. Maybe he's saving it, I don't know. But anywho, I do think for a while here, because I need to predict correctly, and this is when I just start to make different moves. Ice Beam unboosted, it has over a 50% chance to one-hit KO at the health level I'm at. I don't want to protect in case he predicts that, for me to do that to get more Leech Seed and Black Sludge recovery, or he might predict me to switch out and just goes for the Calm Mind in either scenario, because if he does that, he'd one-hit KO me anyway. Now I'm just going to take the risk here and actually go for the Giga Drain, predicting him to predict me to either protect or switch, and he would just go and go for the Calm Mind. But I really think about this part for a long time too, because I couldn't predict the explosion correctly earlier, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. So I really just go through a very long thought process here, because I just didn't want him risking going straight for the Ice Beam, because I know Venusaur's kind of been a thorn on his side, not really offensively, but just leech seeding and sleep powdering everything. So, but ultimately I do go for the Giga Drain. I just take the risk. I figured Ice Beam doesn't have it's not a guaranteed one-hit KO, although the chance is pretty high. I think it's around, it might even be 60 or 70% chance for him to one-hit KO me at the range I was at. So the only way I live is if he got min damage or near minimum damage. So that's what I proceed to go for at this point. Is go for the Giga Drain, take the risk, because I figured if I go for the Giga Drain, I can bring myself out of range. Even at +1, Ice Beam would not guarantee a one-hit KO. And actually, I don't think it one-hit KOs at all at +1 after doing the damage calc. So finally I click Giga Drain. He does go for the Calm Mind, predicting me to either switch or go for the Protect. And that worked out very well for me, because after the Leech Seed recovery and the Black Sludge recovery, negating the Sandstorm damage, I'm gonna be able to... I'm not out of range yet actually this turn. I am actually gonna go for the Protect because he's pretty low, because now the plan here is to just let the Leech Seed finish him off. So I'm gonna Protect this turn just to get that extra residual damage from the Leech Seed. And he does go for the Ice Beam to try to take me out. And now I'm just out of range for a +1 Ice Beam to one-hit KO, so he's not going to be able to one-hit KO me. But now I have to think again, because I really still don't want to take damage, because he's still got Flygon and he's still got Tyranitar, so I'm going to need Venusaur for them. I'm just looking at my guys to see who I can go to, and I'm looking at his remaining team as well, because he's shown me all his team members. So based on that, I deduced that Heatran is the least useful to me, so I just go right to him, figuring most likely he's going to Ice Beam to try to get damage on Venusaur, and that's exactly what he does. Heatran is just pretty much useless at this point, because he's not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage to anything that he has. He's got Tyranitar, Flygon, and Infernape all resist Lava Plume. I don't have Earth Power on this thing. I have Roar. So he's going to go back to Flygon to try and wake up, which I expected. I did consider just hitting it with Lava Plumes over and over until it woke up, because at this point I'm staying in with Heatran. I'm not going to switch out, because he's just not that, he's not going to be very useful other than for roaring a bunch of guys around to rack up residual damage. That's the most he's going to be able to do. At least that was my thinking process. So instead of going for Lava Plume though, I didn't want to risk the second turn wake again. So, and even if he did, I figured I didn't really care, because he'd just go for Earthquake and he'd be locked into that. So I'm just gonna roar it out just to get some extra residual damage. I figured that's the most Heatran's gonna be able to do. And I do get his Infernape again, which is awesome. Now, here it gets pretty epic. He's gonna go for Fire Blast, predicting my switch, thinking I wouldn't want to take a close combat, but I make a really ballsy play and stay in. And he does go for Fire Blast, and I go for a boosted Lava Plume. It almost takes Infernape out. And even if he close combated, I could just go to Spiritomb and just set up or rest. But at this point, he realizes that I've got the advantage here, and I've got it pretty much set up to win. So he's actually gonna run away. But it was a great game, Joey. Awesome sport, dude. Definitely hope to play you again sometime. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. And Chun is out. Peace.